Hello, everybody. This is Dandy Dragon, and once again, I am bringing a community 4v4 to you. On the Raiders side, we have Blob Sauce, myself, Naniyori, and Zeromus. And today, I am joined by Naniyori himself. Nani, introduce yourself to the adoring fans.
I'm not sure I need to introduce myself. You did a pretty good job, but hello, everyone.
Yep. Naniyori is one of the local raiders. He does a little bit of coaching. He is very knowledgeable on a lot of the civs and the statistics and the like, and how the civs work and the units. And he is a map creator, so some of the games we've had in the community have been made from him. Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready when you're ready.
All right, press play. If I learn how to speak English, that'll be helpful. All right, to start off with, here in the north on our side, we can see Naniyori on the deli. South of him, you can see me on Roos. Beneath me, you got Blob Sauce, and beneath Blob Sauce, you got Zeromus. Now, across from us in the opposite order, we see a Kainu on the Byzantines. Above him, we have Last Ghost Assassin. I love that name. I appreciate that. Above him, we have the YOLO Man, and then to the right of him, we have Lysander. Is that Lysander or Lysander, I wonder?
Lysander, I believe.
Alrighty. Now we can kind of see what each of the civs are doing. The Lysander is going for a very standard opening on a few sheep. Let me see if can I see where his scout's at? No, he didn't get his forward sheep. That's a little peculiar. If I were him, I would not like that. Like, you want to get the sheep around your base very quickly. You don't want your opponent denying you those sheep. So let me take a quick look to see where he is at. Okay, he's out killing deer. I don't know about you. I would always say get your deer first, and then, or get your sheep first, then worry about deer. And on 4v4, denying roosts like deer and like wolves is going to take up a lot of time due to the map size, and you're going to probably miss some drop-offs. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, there's definitely some mentality to it. If you can, you want someone to be denying deer. If you feel that you're going to be under pressure early, it's a good idea to maybe get some of your outward resources, such as deer, first, so that then you have safer food under TC later. But other times it's a bit of a waste of time, and you should just focus on your game plan, especially because in larger team games, it's so hard to deny enough bounty to set the roost back. So,
Yep.
there's a bit of a mathematical jigsaw to it.
Yep. I usually find that if you can get your the sheep around your base, and then most players can deny 1 to 2 deer packs on top of that, that's usually enough to keep the roost from being able to do something like a really fast castle, and it forces them out onto earlier gold, which is usually kind of the play. You want them to have to go out on the map. You don't want them getting 1,000 bounty for free. But honestly, like, anything beyond that, you're probably wasting micro and time. Like, you're better off just getting your economy, like, safely set up.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
yeah, denying deer there. The Malians doing a very standard opening there. Everything looks very standard. We do see a nice cistern placement from the Byzantines on his base. He's covering gold, wood, and I believe he's getting his sheep. Yep. I would have liked it if he had put that a little bit further to the left. Maybe he could cover the berries on top of the golds. But maybe not, you know. Maybe that's a little too greedy. All right.
yeah, I'm
Go ahead.
not sure that he could have gotten both resources with one. But also, you have to consider that you can't put cisterns too close to each other, and this definitely looks like it's a bit close already.
Yep. That is for sure. Now, both the Ottomans are doing a very standard opener where they're going for the twin minaret madrasa. And then...
Yeah,
Go
one
ahead.
thing I would like to add, in 4v4s, you generally want to skip this military school opening because the military school is going to set your age up behind. The units it's going to produce are less valuable in the earlier ages. Unless you plan to scale up into a lot of spears later, oh, there's just no, it's just not going to pay off in the long run. The best reason to do it is for the early spear to go harass, but on a 4v4 map like this, the distance between two players, even say pink and orange here, is so wide that his spear will never get over there in time to find a properly exposed resource.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I do see the value in it in so much that if you're fighting multiple knight civs or maybe like a French and an English, you want to get some spears out on the early golds so that way you're not denied those right away. But beyond that, you're kind of playing with fire. Now, one issue I'm seeing right here from Blob Sauce is this Gur position. Like, if I were him, I would like kind of mirror it over so it's between the gold and the berries, so he could get on those berries for early food and not have as much movement or distance. Sadly, despite their best efforts to deny bounty, I'm already at 525. Like, and that's going to give me enough to have wheelbarrow, some gold to spare, and just be able to kind of do what I want to do, which is make some early knights and go harass with them. Because if you're going to deny the fast castle, then you'll just switch over to night harass.
Mm-hmm.
Now we see, I think this is some rather greedy plays. We see the Order of the Dragon player is on a farther wood line, keeping his close by wood line just untouched. We see the Ottomans going, he's got that early military school as well. I don't know what he's planning to do with those. They're kind of just running around the middle. Maybe they're heading over to you. I'm not sure what the game plan is. Like, even if you go for the Delhi, that's not going to usually have much of a payoff because the spears from the tower with the Tower Victory bonus are going to be able to uptrade into those really well. And the resources for Delhi are usually pretty safe as they only have to defend one node usually because they can get onto the beer pack, the berry packs sooner, or berry bushes.
And if I remember correctly, you actually spotted early as well. I scouted that Yellow had made several spears to sit on his wood line, although he didn't check to see if I was actually going to put on pressure. And you saw that Red had several spears crossing the map to attack one of us, and I said, oh, well, they've set themselves behind by going straight to military. That means I'm just going to go to castle, and then I'll be immediately able to make men-at-arms, and I'm going to cancel out both of their armies.
Yep. And behind that, we're going to be able to get trade on top of that due to our, like, because he went for this early double military school, he's trying to go into some harass. He's not going to be setting up trade right away, which in my opinion is a huge mistake. And YOLO Man, he's on 29 vills, and that number is just going to immediately start to go down as these knights start putting in the work. Like, that's rough. Like, you want to be able to put, like, get that... Oh, he's going to save that one vill by a split second. This is where the French knight value comes in, where they can get a two-shot on a vill. That YOLO Man, if I was playing French, would have lost like 3 or 4 vills there instead of losing none. But this early military that they put out means that they do not have this tower up yet for the Dragon, which is going to allow me to get some free vill kills here too. Immediately losing a vill from the Dragon. The Ottomans are losing a vill. And all these spears not doing any work. At this point, like, you'd be better off with some towers than the early military school. Yeah. And that's going to be some Vills down. Even if I lost that knight, definitely worth taking out a couple of Vills for it. YOLO Man down to 29 Vills, and in comparison to like Nani's 32. And those numbers are going to kind of keep getting poked down. We can see that Nani's going for Compound of the Defender. Now, Nani, why are you going for this one, like, versus House of Learning?
Cheaper keeps. I wanted to get cheaper keeps, and I wanted the time reduction on village fortresses. My intention is simply to gather up as much stone as I can and put up keeps. My eco is going to skyrocket, and because we're on high view, where line of sight is limited, I'm going to have defenses that help to cancel out any threat of a surprise attack.
Yep. So for those who don't know, the Compound Defender does give a discount of 20% on tower emplacements, keeps, stone walls, all that. So you can get up a lot of stone infrastructure very quickly due to this. And for those who don't know, the keeps, you can get the village fortress, like what Nani was talking about, or call me a goldfish. My memory is gone. I believe you mentioned village fortresses, allowing those to serve as TCs. So that's
yeah. You get so any keep for Delhi has the village fortresses technology, but if you research it from the Compound of the Defender, it is only 6 minutes instead of, I believe, like 9 if you get it from a keep. And you don't have to actually put up your first keep to begin that research.
Yep. It's a big thing. Like that decrease in time before you can get it going, that decrease in cost for TC or for keeps that will serve as your TCs. Like, just great stuff. Like that is what you want for a safe, stable economy. And if they don't start putting pressure on you soon, that's just going to allow you to, like, just boom away almost.
Mm-hmm. And quick look into the future. I will make a pretty big misplay in a bit, but it's going to be completely canceled out just by the nature of this play.
Yeah. We do see that Zeromus is putting up some early walls in the front of his base between him and Orange. Not a bad play. He's on the side of the market, so he wants to have that market secured for the team. Otherwise, we're all going to lose our trade, and that would really hurt our economy. We're investing a lot of resources into that. And with 151 gold trade, that's nothing to joke about, especially the Mongol trade, getting that extra resources depending on the number of traders they get overall. Very nice for the economy. We do see the multiple mosques coming out from Naniyori. The reason you get a bunch of mosque out is because the mosques, the more you have scholars in them, the faster they're going to get their research rate for all of their free tax. So definitely worth getting that. I do see you're getting your mass man-at-arms spam coming out. Meanwhile, I'm just continuing to do the dandy thing where I just run knights around. Now, one issue I am seeing here for the dragons is this Malian player is just unopposed. He's on double market, Fulani Corral, double TC, double pit mine. Like, he is just going hog wild on that boom. He's not going to be wanting for resources at all here in just a couple minutes. He'll have endless supplies. Meanwhile, we do see Blob Sauce is just harvesting away his sheep, getting trade online. Not booming quite as hard, but I believe Blob is new to Mongols, so this is kind of a trial run for him. So, the fact...
But
go ahead.
I just wanted to say, one of the other reasons I went heavy into scholars was that right as I hit castle, I unloaded one full monastery here and sent six scholars simultaneously to 6 different relics, and every one of them is coming back now with a prize.
Yep. And that's great. Like, denying the relics from your opponent, even, like, especially with Order of the Dragon out there, like, denying relics has a huge value. And we do see your men-at-arms are pushing in on the Order of the Dragon player. he's going to have to get off a stone. The men-at-arms are going to even push back the Sipahi. At this point, you have the keep up, and like they're not going to be able to freely raid that flank, and you're going to be able to resecure that relic, no problem. Meanwhile, we get the trade in the back. I believe at this point, yep, I've gone castle already. We do see Zeromus and Blob Sauce in the south are getting raided by these Byzantine horsemen. Not a bad play. They're not very expensive minus the food, but hopefully if you have a good economy, food should be no problem. Being able to run in and like stop the trade is going to put in a lot of value. If only for the fact that every trader you're killing is costing the opponent 120 resources. So that's good value. They even get quite a few behind my base. As my knights were out raiding, I wasn't able to defend this right away. So smart choice by Akainu to make this decision to raid this area, but it will get cleaned up pretty quickly. We do see the Dragon player. He is going just mass archer and spears alongside the Ottomans, who are going mass Sipahi and spears. While I like the spears because of all the knights they're seeing, they are going to be hard countered by mass men-at-arms. Just purely for the fact that nothing they have is going to kill men-at-arms very quickly. But they luckily for them, they do have just the number advantage, which will put in the work right now. I'm continuing to do the raids. They are catching out my raids here and there and punishing me and my knights. Which for me obviously sucks, but you know what? We'll take it. It's alright. We'll take it because we got quite a few Vil kills. If we go to our opponents, we can see I'm on 57 eco. Akainu is on 73, so doing what raiding I did do was very important, especially he's on multiple TC there. I really should have gone into more TCs or more traders myself. We see the last Ghost Assassin, he's on 65. I honestly would have expected more from him. It looks like he's not producing from these markets, which is a mistake from the Ghost Assassin. We do see Lysander. He is on 31 eco. That is not good. It is too late in the game to be on 31 eco. And we see this very cheeky play. The men-at-arms putting up the stone walls. That's going to just secure that whole flank. They don't have anything that can break down a stone wall at this point. Or at least nothing that can break through quickly. And yep, you are sitting on the 6 relics. You got the keep. That keep just serving as a new TC. 6 relics. I think at this point you did get trade going. Or nope, that is just Zeromus.
I actually never get trade going, no.
Oh really? I must have just thought it was Zeromus. I guess I cannot tell the difference between pink and purple.
Yeah, at this point I'm on 6 relics, and I'm putting up my second keep now. And with the forward stone wall, I know that they won't be approaching me from the flank, which means that any fight should happen closer to middle.
Yeah.
And although I don't execute it later, I did this with the thought in mind that I could go straight back to the neutral market and do the same thing there, cutting off their trade if they had invested.
Yeah. The rating continued going down on red. I'm sure he hates me at this point. The YOLO man is on 42 eco. That sucks. At this point, like, Naniyori is on 59. Myself, I'm on 71. Blob Sauce 67. Like, Lysander and the YOLO man are not looking good in terms of their eco. I'm pretty sure all his army is just from the military schools as well. So that's not something he can just replace. But that Minganel is going to put in some work. So, yep, your men-at-arms are having to pull back. And we see that Akainu is preparing a mass legion of longbows and Varangian guards to try and take out Zeromus in the south. Zeromus just having gone Imperial, it looks like, not long ago. Does he have an army at this point? Or much of one? No, not really.
So, in the south, by the way, we see that Zeromus has just hit Imperial Age.
Yep.
And that makes him the first one to reach the final age, and if he could get out an Imperial army, he would definitely be setting the tempo for a while.
Yep. Sadly, he reached Imperial kind of not back, like nothing was backing it up. He didn't have a military preps. He didn't have a lot of infrastructure to pump out at like mass hand cannoneers or the like. So holding this flank is going to take a lot of work, especially since he's on mass spears. Like he can't kill these men-at-arms very quickly, but luckily he does have his free mangonels from the Mehmed Imperial Armory, and he can quickly switch that over to Great Bombards, which will really start putting in the work. We do see the Blob Sauce is going to react very quickly, and he's going to try to get his Kurultai down there to make sure that he can support that fight. In the north, though, we see the yellow and red armies are converging upon you, looking for a good place to strike. Unluckily for them...
Yeah, so... This brings up the biggest mistake I actually made. I put these monasteries forward, and they immediately noticed that. And so it's an easy place to capitalize. With their first attack, they can take my relics offline. I even made the mistake of putting a barracks forward, and so they can hamper both my production and my income in one go.
Yeah.
And because of that, I actually have to go in.
Yep. And luckily, though, all you really need to do is take out the siege, and they're not going to have a lot of killing power in their army. They got a few Janissaries mixed in that can do some work, but that's not anything that can kill a base. Sadly, they do keep those mangonels alive, but they are quick to realize they got to kill a keep, and honestly, multiple keeps on that flank. That's not a position they want to push from. And at this point, I'm amassing the crossbows and the knights to try and help you hold that flank. But in the south, we do see a lot of pressure being put on by Kainu, but he's being forced back by just the mass... Is that mass archers and Mangonai? Yeah, I guess so. With the Mangonel, I guess they have the killing power they need. I'll say, though, Blob, despite not being very experienced with the Mangonai, is doing a good job on just trying to kite there a little bit, force them back just a little bit more, because every little bit matters. When you're just trying to delay until you get the good armies up from Imperial, that's going to be insane. Now, hopefully, Zeromus, for his sake, remembers to switch over to Great Bombards from his Mehmed Imperial Armory, because one Great Bombard could do a ton of work on this army. We do see that this in the north, the YOLO man is preparing a lot of rams and mangonels to try and push your base. So he's definitely committing to this push and needing to kill you for this to pay off. Sadly for them, their eco still isn't really anywhere where it needs to be. The YOLO man only on 54 economy, while Lysander is on 48. Like, at this point, I don't know why they're not just throwing down, like, 3 markets or just another TC or something. Because they're just not keeping up economically. Like, they may have the army advantage right now, but not for long.
Yeah, and so I've reached kind of the peak of my play at this point, where I have 5 keeps up, which means I am on 6 TC.
Yeah.
And aside from being 6 TCs, there's nothing that their handgunners or their cavalry can do to actually dent in those emplacements. And I have put spring alts on every keep.
Yeah.
So if the Rams die here, their push just stalls. And you and I were both aware of that.
Yep. And both of us going for a flank, the knights getting on top of the siege so they can't kill your men-at-arms. Like, that's going to really kill the momentum of this push. And the mangonels are going to start working on taking down the rams themselves, because they're the only real thing that's a threat. I could move them up a little bit further forward and help win the fight, but there honestly isn't much for those Janissaries to kill. It really is just them needing to kill the base, not armies. So that's a rough situation for them. Some poor micro from red. The CPE are not getting on top of the siege, which is what they really needed to do there in that moment. They had a chance where they may have been able to knock down 1 or 2 of the mangonels, but they're not gonna. They're only gonna get one in the end, and then that mass archer blob is gonna get punished by just one mangonel. And you're quick on the draw with your scholars. You're recovering your relics. In the south, Zeromus under pressure again by Kainu, and now by last Ghost Assassin. He's going mass Musafatis. Sadly, Musafati's not good for killing base, but great at killing armies. So fighting in these at raiding, which is what he's doing now, is where he needs to be using those. Oh nope, never mind. This is some weird play by the last Ghost Assassin. He's kind of running them around and not really getting on top of like military or eco, which is what he needs to do. He needs to just like run down here, get on the wood line, or get on the trade or something.
Yeah, also, because there's a lack of towers, he could actually pop stealth, and that would allow him to avoid the first shots of the Janissaries or some of these Mangadai, and get into melee before he revealed himself with his units.
Yep.
It's just a way to get a little bit more out of a unit, and avoid being kited, which is usually the biggest threat to a melee unit.
Yep. We do see a big issue from the Akainu and the last Ghost Assassin. They don't have a lot of base killing power. Once again, it seems like the team on the west side is focusing more on winning battles than killing bases, which is really punishing them in this moment. Like in the south, if they had 3 or 4 rams, or like even better 5 or 6, and they were just flooding through, or if last Ghost Assassin was making some bombards, that would just do great work right now. Like, I think Zeromus would probably be out of the game. Luckily, these Mangadai are just kind of holding this flank a little bit. Janissaries are kind of starting to build up their numbers, which is good. And we do see the Great Bombard. Hopefully, this is where they can start turning that around. Yeah, because Musafati warriors will be slaughtered by a Great Bombard, especially Janissaries. They don't have a lot of health. So you get a high DPS unit like that on top of them, it's going to do some work. Now, sadly, they are really cutting off the trade, and that is an issue for the Dragons here. But good job from Zeromus. He's focusing down the siege, and it looks like Akainu is making a misplay here and not paying attention to his mangonels. And he's going to get a volley off, but he's not going to be able to actually kill the Janissaries, which he needed to do right there. And despite pulling the Musafatis in to kill the Great Bombard, they get kind of stuck in this choke point between the buildings, and the hand cannoneers or the Janissaries there are going to finish them off. Once again, Musafati not good at killing mass ranged units. They're kind of countered by mass hand cannoneers and other similar units.
Meanwhile, in the north, I actually take note of their lack of map awareness and their lack of map control, and I'm just going to begin walling right up against the edge of their base, securing 2 of the sacreds for us for sure, and securing all of the middle map resources.
And it is funny, it's Teal who has the same game plan kind of on the other flank. You can see he already queued up the walls, and he is slowly but surely just like the entire south edge is just getting walled off by him. So they are very much going for kind of this tunnel strategy where we're kind of trying to keep them in their base, just haphazardly just kind of walling each other off in the different flanks. We do see a mass army from Red. He's got a lot of Sipahi, he's got a lot of Janissaries, he's got some Mangonels, but he is not Imperial yet, so he's not getting those Great Bombards. At this point in the game, at nearly 30 minutes, you want to be using Great Bombards for Ottomans, otherwise you're just kind of falling behind a lot of what everyone else is able to do. We do see some work from your Men-at-Arms kind of slowing down this wall from getting put up, but definitely those were not enough numbers to deal with mass Musafati. And a lot of military is actually getting sent down to that edge. I think we were discussing we wanted to stop them from getting those walls up in the first place.
Yeah, so the walls didn't concern me too much because they don't actually cut us off from reinforcing our allies, nor do they secure any map resources. But I saw the exposed villagers and I thought, free real estate.
Yeah. Once again, we see that Musafati are just dying to mass range unit. They're low armor, low HP, just really getting them punished by these like ranged blobs. And then you can see though they are slaughtering men-at-arms, they're slaughtering knights, but they're just getting mowed down by mangonel and crossbow.
Also, you may notice that his wall isn't even finished, as he left several gaps. I believe technically because my men-at-arms stood in the way while his villagers started to work on a blueprint.
So actually, if you get high up enough and look down, you can see it's a deer carcass blocking the wall.
A classic deer carcass.
A classic deer carcass. And once again, killing the deer, punishing players. And we do see a large push coming in from Lysander and the YOLO man coming straight for you. At this point, they're maxed out on their pop with Lysander. Same with YOLO man, both with 110, 120 pop armies. This is an issue for them. If they cannot win a fight with these numbers, they're going to be really put into a bad position. Like they need the eco.
One thing I immediately noted for the second time was they have only 2 rams, and the rest of their army, or nearly all of it, is ranged units. So against my base, which is more static defense than base, they're not going to make any headway here.
Yep. They're definitely putting work on your spearmen, but they are using CPE, so they're like facing equal losses. They're not going to be able to defend their rams, and those are going to go down. And now the Dandy army finally making it over to support. Sadly, my reinforcements that I already had queued up over here is definitely not enough to wipe out this military, but it is enough to slow down this push so they can't go all in on you. But
yeah, I actually instructed you during this fight simply to keep them underneath the keep so that boiling oil could do its work. And it has. You have literally been holding them here as they lose their entire army to just static emplacements.
And the mangonels. That mangonel.
And the mangonels.
Yeah, the mangonels just taking out the janissaries. Soon we'll be taking out the archers. Archers going under burning oil. Like, that's just bad for them. In the south, we see the full janissary, men-at-arm, and great bombard army, along with mass Mangudai, are just gonna hold this line. Like, this is not the army Akaino needs to, like, bunker bust, like, a great bombard Ottoman base. Like, he has none of the tools necessary. Now, the Musafati could probably put in some work with some really good micro, but even then, like, you want to get some culverins or even just your own bombards or springles or something. And honestly, you need like mass mangonels and men-at-arms, or like something to really quickly take down janissaries.
Yeah, Musafati are nice, but there are 2 civilizations who they especially struggle against. One is Mongols and one is English, and it's for the same reason. Those civs are incentivized to scatter towers throughout their territory and throughout their bases, which renders all sneak attack damage moot. And if you look at the army compositions, there are no men-at-arms or knights for them to actually capitalize on in these defending armies.
Yeah. And we can see that in the north, both yellow and red have been pushed back to their walls, and the militaries are gathering at the walls. We see quite a few markets going down from red in the west corner as he trades to the north. At this point, I think he's realized he needs to switch to mass eco. He has done that. He's at 120. We see Lysander is still at 75. Lysander really needs to get his eco fixed up, and he needs to do it a lot faster. Like, luckily he does have Swabia, so I think he will get that fixed in time. But it's a little too late. His eco, he just doesn't have the resources at this point to really like put up a large army. Luckily, like mass crossbow that he is pumping will be very efficient. With the mine work upgrade, yep, he already got it. It gives you that plus 10, I believe, damage to ranged or to siege units. So they're basically like mass spring alts. They kill men-at-arms, they kill knights, they will upgrade into other crossbows. Just a really good set of units. Now they're going to try to push into the now we're going to try to be pushing into their base, though they had mass spears, so they really do the work on the knights. But luckily you have the mass mangonels, and those are going to go down really fast. Both front lines just getting massacred, but those crossbows are just slaughtering the siege. Just immediately he goes in to target those down. As soon as he sees the mangonels, he pulls back. Good for him. Meanwhile, in the south, we see a push coming in from Zeromus and Blob. They've managed to win the fights on their border, and even though they only have a couple great bombards, that's more than enough to start putting pressure in on the base. Both flanks just kind of continuing to put on this pressure, just trying to find a, I would say just like a gap in or a chink in the armor that can be exploited. But the Maulians are doing a good job at trying to just poke at these great bombards. Though right now he doesn't have the mass to get through, just like the mass Mangudai. All sides are kind of just gathering up military as fast as they can to continue the pressure. The push in the north is going to get killed off due to the lack of infrastructure, honestly, just on my part. I don't have a lot, and I'm getting more queued up to be built. And this is, I'll say, probably one of my biggest weaknesses is I just don't get infrastructure up fast enough. So my armies just do not get out there when they need to. But luckily in the south, we do see that Zeromus and Blob are continuing to put in this pressure here. But it looks like the Mass Musafati army just got around on the back and is immediately going to try to dive onto this back line. Let's see if they can get the great bombards. They're going for them. And that will be a great bombard going down, I believe. Oh, yep, he did get it. By a hair's breadth, he got it. The other bombard going to be safe there, but not for much longer, as it looks like the army kind of is starting to dwindle. And yep, that's the other great bombard down. In the north, we continue to see the grind at the wall, where we're seeing, Streltsy on the wall. I love it. Mass Mangonels, Streltsy on the wall. This is a dream come true for a fight. If you are any Civ that has like a good hand cannoneer, or if you're just having Mass Mangonels, fighting on top of a wall is just super cost efficient. You're going to be trading very well into your opponents. Meanwhile, both sides looking rather poor, honestly. Besides Zeromus with a lot of gold, but even you and myself, neither one of us have a massive bank. We could probably like lose one army, and that would be it. That would be all the resources we got banked. So winning these fights efficiently is super important. Yep. We do see the Gilded Horsemen are getting on top of the siege, taking them down really fast alongside the crossbows. That is just going to dunk the armies, and that, oh man, that hurts my soul looking back at that. Really should have pulled back when the dive started to come in, at least save the front line.
So, I can remember that you actually did try to give an order, and unfortunately, my mangonels who are stuck in the gate prevented your siege from retreating.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was that moment, but I do remember that did happen. That was an unlucky situation. Luckily, we did win that fight well enough. They really can't afford to push back into us, and they're taking this really bad fight under your mangonels. So you're getting a lot of damage off on them, and while you don't win the fight, you're able to keep them from putting on more pressure, allowing me and myself and you to get more military back up on that front line. So, once again, Zeromus and Blob are pushed back to their walls. This south is just this constant back and forth. Neither one of them can really beat into the other player's base. So it's just this kind of this tug of war that's going on. That Great Bombard, though, is going to be able to take down the wall, but unluckily for them, there's a thing called these lovely spearmen. The good old Delhi Compound Defender. I can just build it again.
And as long as my spears are putting the wall up, my mangonels get free shots.
Yep. Really efficient. Like, even if they break through, they're just going to immediately just get put into this funnel where the mangonels will get even more damage off against them, forcing them to pull back completely and just sit back on the bombard. The YOLO man, or go ahead.
He broke through once again, but it's irrelevant. His army is gone.
Yep. He really needs some siege workshops, and he just needs to produce a few more great bombards. I think... Oh, pardon me. That's kind of his big issue. He could afford about 4 of those, and 4 great bombards would do a lot of work over here on that flank.
Yeah. I will also add, because I don't know if you remember this, at this point, you suggested that I go up the side of the map and go kill the trade and back, and I just went, no.
Nope. You decided to put down a massive amount of infrastructure right on the front line.
Yep, and that's for something that you and I discussed at the time that we'll be seeing in a bit. I'm about to make a bit of a transition.
Yep. And look at the mangonels just winning the fight against the bombard, forcing it back, and then immediately it's going to melt that front line. They are losing complete control of that middle. Siege is going to go down, and the only thing that's really powerful in their army is those gilded crossbows. But with some good micro, those will probably go down here in a second. Yep. Oh, man. The spears are going to do some work out there on the CPE. Yep. And the mangonels are just putting pressure on the crossbows, not letting them do any scoot and shoot or anything of that nature. And at this point, they've really lost the front of their base. They are making a new push once again with another great bombard. Though, once again, 1 great bombard is not going to be enough. With some good micro, those 3 roost bombards with the increased damage should win. And, oh, look at those mangonels. Look at the mangonels just putting in the work. And the crossbows are down. That is amazing right there. They take out a bunch of your siege, but not before you win that fight. And with that, the back is kind of broken. I send some knights to break down their wall and go up on top of their trade to try to stop the gold. Because once you get to these late game fights, if you lose your trade, you lose the game. And yep, once again, Great Bombard getting targeted by Roost Cannons. 3 maxed out Roost Cannons from High Armory will beat a Great Bombard in 1 shot. And yep, the Knights are on the trade, and it's just going to go down. No traders are going to get past this many Knights just sitting on top of it. Meanwhile, in the south, we see that once again, just another stalemate, as neither side can really gain a foothold on the other. The Musafati definitely using their stealth to get on top of the siege. The front line of the Byzantines just holding really well, but the Great Bombards with Kurultai just creating this impenetrable little focal point there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I would say that there's just a mismatch of units here, because there continues to be really no heavy armor for Zeromus or Blob Sauce in the south. And at this point, maybe he wants Musafati out of it, worry about how am I going to get to those great bombards. But the truth is, he needs units that can counter the army that he is facing, which will be which could have been mass archers, to be honest, who get bonus damage against Janissaries and happen to counter Mangadai.
Yep. Mass archers. And don't forget Culverins. Culverins, man.
Yeah.
He's a culverin.
And Musa, I was gonna say, Molly happened to have culverins, so they do have a siege answer to this.
Yeah. So just, I think he's a little bit too focused on this, like you said, this stealth army. And while it's good at sneaking in on top of the bombards, and if it can get on top of the military, it's going to do some work. But that does leave this issue where they can't pierce a base. But once again, that stealth doing work, they're getting right on top of the bombards. And those bombards are just going to get melted once again, killing the ability of Zeromus and Blob Sauce to break through at a very quick rate. And a little bit of micro there, those will go down too.
But as you can see, they happen to literally be weak to Mangadai, and for one stealth in to kill 2 of 5 great bombards, he's lost an entire army again.
Yep. We see Lysander has lost their army completely. Their eco is at 95, so not bad. But you are harassing it a fair bit. His infrastructure in the north is kind of all but dead, except for his economy. But, like, you know, if you can keep economy alive, you can get back into the game, but you need to, you know, be able to hold it for a second and get your infrastructure back up. We do see there, just kind of south of the north and closer to the middle, I take my army over there and I try to flank off red and kill whatever I can over here. Zeromus and Blob Sauce once again getting ready to assault the south. They're just maintaining this pressure. They're doing a great job though, like both sides, like on whether it's the north, the south, west or east, doesn't matter. Both sides are doing everything they can to just try and hold just a little bit longer, so hopefully the other flank can get the win in. Because as soon as one flank just collapses, that's over. Like, once the trade is down, that is the end of what these players are going to be able to do. The Istanbul Observatory is going to go down. Trade is going down for red. He is losing that eco. Sadly, a misplay by me. I didn't get these Streltsy where they really needed to be, which was just right there on top of the farms. Luckily, I do catch that, and I'm going to be able to start putting damage there. Meanwhile, we see something glorious happening. The elephants. The elephants.
Yeah, so you had asked me to shut down the trade. I said no. And then the rest of that conversation was, I want to get a mass elephant army out this game. If we kill their trade, I think they'll quit before that happens.
Yeah.
But now I've got the elephants out, and I'm like, hey, Dandy, how's your rating of the trade going?
And at this point, really well. Yolo Man's down to 103. Lysander's down to 83. Last Ghost Assassin's down to 100. And Akainu's down to 103. I think most of them were at 120. So that's a good between 40 to 80 eco already dead. And we see that... Or go ahead.
Well, sorry. Hearing that, I decide to move in now because I want these elephants to get some glory before this game might be wrapped up. Because I'm feeling confident in us at this point.
Yep. And honestly, like, memes aside, elephants are amazing at clearing out leftovers of bases. They don't die very quickly, so they can kind of just destroy infrastructure, despite the fact that they, like, hand cannoneers could be on top of them, they'll still kill everything. They're just that tanky of a unit. With 14 freaking ranged armor on the tower elephants, 900 HP. Yeah, and then the tower elephants are going to have that ranged attack, so they can kind of just scoot and shoot and kill Vils as they walk through. In the south, once again, it's just this dead even neck and neck fight between the two sides. Neither one of them can truly pierce the other one's base, just due to, I think, comps, like the amount of infrastructure, and just never like able to maintain this enough like siege due to Musafati.
Yeah.
We do see the Gilded Crossbows are doing some good work here, actually. They're killing a couple elephants, it looks like. But honestly, the elephants, yep, the dreaded scoot and shoot elephants.
They're trying to chase them with men-at-arms, and there's literally not a worse unit for that job.
Yeah. Right now, you're still kind of taking the fight, which is not a bad choice. We see the... oh, yes. At this point, I had pushed into the Malian player, so they would be forced to pull off of the south, and hopefully that would let Zeromus and Blob Sauce get some pressure in. I wipe out a section of his base. He starts to repair and replace most of it very quickly, and he gets an army over here. And sadly for me, I didn't have enough military over there, and a lot of it was knights, so Hand Cannoneer Musafati is going to push me back completely. And yep, here we do see the elephants are just running away from the men-at-arms, and they're just getting a lot of their shots off. Oh, and they're staying. Okay, back to the scooting shooting elephants. There we go. That's what the people want to see. Just elephants killing men-at-arms.
The only thing I didn't want to do was let them accidentally blob up, and then the mangonels happen to get a good shot off.
Yeah. Going really well at this point. The teal, though he clearly wants to help his allies in the north, realize he needs to help the south, as once again mass bombards coming out against Kainu. Despite the fact that his army is very powerful, Varangian guards, hand cannoneers, mass mangonel, great bombards will decimate any and all of that. Infantry and just mangonels do not stand up to a bombard mass like that.
Yeah, and the mangonels are a good choice against Janissaries and Mangudai, but unless his friend who's playing the Malians is able to get out some culverins to deal with the great bombards, they're just going to be beaten in the siege department, and the mangonels won't get the opportunity to shoot to begin with.
Yeah, and that's really the issue. That's where like some culverins from the Malians would do a lot of work here, because if they could snipe out those bombards, it would once again, the push would just die immediately. But those great bombards in the meantime are going to slaughter everything they shoot at.
Yeah. And instead, I can see Teal's army approaching now, and do you want to guess what he made?
More Musofati.
Yep.
And
more units who are specifically weak to archers.
And once again, though, they're stealthed up, so they're going to get a surround off, and they're going to melt that entire army, though. Like, that stealth feature from the Fortress of the Hunt is seeing a lot of play here. And I've said this a lot in my, like, time playing Malians and FFAs. Fortress of the Hunt, like, with really good micro, it'll win fights. Like, Musafati may be glass cannons, but if that glass cannon can get in position, like, things will just die. But at this point, I think this is kind of the last piece of the pie being eaten, as at this I am able to push into the YOLO man with mass siege, Streltsy, and knights. His army was in the north defending yellow, but unable to win there. Elephants are just running rampant through the base, killing vills, and just probably just getting on these farms. And that's kind of just everything in the north is kind of crumbling. And while the south actually seems to have won their fight once again, like Blob Sauce and Zeromus not able to push in at all, even losing the Kurultai, that doesn't matter, as they are in the base of the south and winning. Like, Kainu and Lasco's assassin need to be killing Blob Sauce and Zeromus faster than we're killing the north. And that is not happening. We see that red is losing all his infrastructure. They're losing trade. Once again, their eco is going to be looking pretty hurt from this, I'm sure. 96 for, oh yeah, Lysander is out of this game. 44 eco, and it's continuing to go down, I think. Yep. Though sadly,
yeah, my elephants are in the last of his villagers right now.
Yeah. Sadly, the hand cannoneers are going to clean up that batch of elephants, but honestly, it's too little, too late. Like, you could just pump out infinite army. At this point, the bank for the east side is looking relatively good in comparison to what is being lost. Obviously, my resources are good. We see an immediate tap out from red and yellow, At this point, they've lost the north. There's nothing they can do there. Though we do see the Malians coming in with the stealthen units. They were able to get on top of my siege over there in the south before I realized it. And by the time I realized they were on top of my siege, I just kind of gave up on it. There's nothing I can really do to save it. So it's like, yeah, just let it kill whatever it's going to kill. Once again, Musafati getting on top of the army is just going to massacre it. Like, Musafati may have been bad in the south, but they're good here in the north.
Yeah, so Knights obviously take bonus damage from Musafati, and Streltsy actually have low enough health that Musafati getting first strike off on them means they can kill them before the Streltsy do the damage that the Streltsy really want to do.
Yep. And honestly, they only lose that fight here against me because they're sending the Musafati gunners to kill the Bombard. I think that's probably just a miss micro with the A move. Keeps getting placed down on the trade, though. We see that the south is finally pushing into orange. Without the Musafati sniping out the siege, there's not much left that can kill the Great Bombards. And suddenly Teal is on a mountain of his own, and he will also surrender. That was a neck and neck game for most of that until the north crumbled. I don't know about you, but that was a good hold from all sides.
It was definitely interesting to see two separate pushes, and both sides would never really reinforce their weaker flank, so it was mostly a race to see who would break first.
Yep. Luckily for us, Zeromus and Blob Sauce, while they couldn't bunker bust that base, they kept losing their armies. They did a really good job about just making sure they did not lose the trade. They were like, we're at this wall, we're gonna hold this wall, we got stone walls, we got Mangudai, we got Janissaries, we'll fight in the choke, we're going to hold that position. And as soon as they had an army remassed, they went into the push again and just always kept some level of momentum, which is good. Like, that is how you hold the defense in that sort of situation. If you just go purely defense, eventually your opponent, if they're very smart, is going to start looking for cracks in your defense, and inevitably there will be one. So, well, thank you, Nani, for joining me today, and thank you all for watching. I hope you all take care and join us in the next video. Bye.